Mansfield in the morning.
And I know that most people are anxious about what the president is going to say tonight. So today I thought I'd explore a feel-good topic, and we're going to look at love.
Oh!
So, and I'm doing this for a reason, because I think we're going to have to show extraordinary love in order for us to be able to come out of this pandemic and thrive as a country and as a world. And I'm going to begin by looking at close relationships before I look at our communal response. Rightly or wrongly, I feel that because of the increased mobility before the lockdown, let's note before the lockdown, and increased isolation, which has happened in the lockdown, and the internet, our connectedness as people has become much more fragile. And so it's important for us to think about the meaning of love. There's been an explosion of dating sites, as I think many people know, and I couldn't find the latest stats, but in 2016, more than 52 million people were using Tinder every day. Sure. So that shows us how lonely people are. And the life of every person on this planet has been influenced by love, whether they are aware of it or not. More mature people are aware that the experience of being loved is as life-giving as the air we breathe, whether we're aware of it, as I said, or not. Psychologists affirm that the presence of love in our lives is vital for full human living. And in his book, To Love or Be Loved, Desmond O'Donnell quotes many wise people who've studied love or been involved in loving. Viktor Frankl, one of them, who survived the concentration camp, he wrote that very well-known book, Man's Search for Meaning, something all of us should actually read. Love is the ultimate and highest goal to which a person can aspire. The salvation of humans is through love and in love. Erich Fromm, social psychologist and psychoanalyst, some of you may have read about, he wrote that it's not he who has much that is rich, but he who gives much, and he was speaking about love. English mystic Julian of Norwich, it is love alone which gives meaning to all things. Latin poet Virgil wrote, love conquers all, let us too give in to love. And Buddha wrote that he said, the unencumbered heart will love. For him love was not a command but a privilege. And I like that, a privilege to love. Our hearts are made to love. The human heart longs to love, and it will love unless it's been damaged in some way. And then Teilhard de Chardin, my favorite. And this was in the 1950s. He said he was a geologist and paleontologist, spent his whole life studying humans, past and present, and he came to the conclusion that despite our occasional inability to love beyond a select few, in other words, some of us can only love a few people, there is such a thing as universal love that is still evolving. And he says when we learn to harness that as humans, it will be the second time in human history we will have discovered something as powerful as fire. And I'm hoping that that fire may be coming because of this pandemic, that we will discover what universal love is. So what is love? As a child, I don't know about you two, but as a child we played a game with daisies. If you liked a boy, you picked a daisy and you took the petals off. He loves me not. Depending on the number of petals. Do you remember that? Obviously we know that's nonsense.
Oh,
so,
damn.
Didn't you know that?
Oh, no.
So just for interest, a psychologist, Robert Steinberg, recognizes 8 types of love. There's eros, which is the erotic love, the love of Hollywood. There's philia, affectionate love or love of friendship. Relationships that come out of friendship and maintain that friendship are usually very sound. There's storge, which is the love of familiarity, and empathy. And as our relationship develops so it becomes easier to put oneself in the shoes of our partner or friend, I believe that's a love that we're going to need communally, to try and understand the other, to have empathy for the other. Ludus is playful love, and it helps us have fun in our relationships and keep them alive and rewarding so that they don't become a duty rather than a pleasure. And strangely, I believe that we need that communally too, because the NGOs will become burnt out with the amount of help they have to have and give. And so the things that you do as a radio station sometimes to help them have a bit of fun are going to be vital to keep them going. Mania, or obsessive love, points to how love can turn our worlds upside down. There's pragma, which is pragmatic love, which we're also going to need, where we do things for another. There's philautia, which is self-love, also going to be needed. We're going to need to do things. That's why I like that thing about forgiveness. Reward yourself when you forgive. We're going to have to make sure that we all take time out to do something for ourselves as well, so we don't get burnt out. And then, of course, agape love, which is that unconditional love, which is the love of God, we believe, for ourselves. And then we all communicate love in different ways, and I'm sure all of you have heard of the 5 love languages. One of the things I've learned is that we actually need to understand the love language of the other person with whom we're in a relationship, or we don't recognize when they're actually being loving towards us. And we might say to them, well, you never show love to me, but they're showing it in a different way. And that's receiving and giving of gifts, especially if that gift is carefully chosen and we know the person has listened to us and understands us. Quality time, words of affirmation, acts of service, physical touch. So that's what the two psychologists tell us about love in relationships. What sort of love do I feel we need now to heal not just this nation but the world? What will it look like? I believe we need to have empathy for each other. We need to try to understand the other. We need acceptance without judgment. We're going to need to show love by helping and encouraging each other. We're going to need to learn to forgive, and we're going to need to sacrifice and transcend the self. But we're also going to need time out for ourselves to do things to enable us to get through this, because it's going to be a long haul. It's a marathon that we're in for. And in other words, we're going to need to practice radical inclusive self-love as well as love for others, sacrificial love for all. It's been done before. It will be done again. We can do this together. And so with that in mind, let us look forward to what the President has to say to us. God bless.
Thank you, Shona.
Shona.
Here it comes! It's Mansfield in the morning. Driven by Sandown Motors, your Mercedes-Benz partner.